Are you a dropshipper and you're concerned about selling a generic Chinese product? Do you really want to turn that into a custom brand but are worried that it's too costly or complicated? Hi everyone, this is Dayu from EcommOps. Today I'm going to talk about how we at EcommOps think about taking something that is very generic for a client and scaling it up into a brand through customizations. And we're going to talk about it through a short case study of something that we actually did for one of our clients. And spoiler alert, it's really not that difficult and it's really not that complicated or costly, and we'll talk about how that is. So we started working with our client Damon back in September of 2019, and we scaled him up to almost 7 figures. So it's right under 7 figures, but he's on path to 7 figures very, very soon. Now, this was only on one product. We worked with multiple 7-8 figure store owners, but really wanted to show this case study because this is something that we really started from scratch, worked with him on the supply chain and product improvements, and scaled just one product, just one single product to this amount. Now, to start with a bit of a background, we're going to talk about where he started at. So the product itself on the left is not a real product. It's just a placeholder. We can't share his product, unfortunately. We never do that. But it is an electronic product that is targeted towards females. Now, his previous stats were his selling price was $30, COGS to the US was $14 or $13.99, daily sales of $1,000. He had a very high issue rate, refunds, defects of like 8%. That's quite high, and his margins were 10%, netting out everything. And he had a list of issues that we eventually helped him with. So first, his prices are quite high. We actually knew his prices were quite high. His original product had a Chinese manual and a Chinese box, and there's no other solution for it at the time. He had slow processing and slow shipping, and he also had poor battery life as well. And all of these issues we eventually resolved, but we did it not all at once. We did it in a step-by-step process that made sure that we reached our goal eventually, but taking minimal risk along the way and adapting to how his marketing was actually doing along the way as well. So the first thing we did when we even got started was, okay, how do we solve the Chinese manual and the Chinese box in the most cost-effective way possible? Now, at this time, our client was not 100% certain on this product scalability, so he really didn't want to invest in more customization. So he asked us, hey, what is the simplest way to do this? So what we basically did was that, okay, obviously, taking out the manual is going to be free, and fortunately, we actually found the right size box that was very, very cheap without any kind of customization. It was blank, but it fit his product perfectly. So actually, we didn't even have to charge him for any of this because these boxes were actually really cheap. Now, this is not always the case. If you're looking for a custom box, even if it's a generic product, that might cost some money. So this time was kind of a unique situation. However, usually, especially if you just want something like a blank box, it's really not going to add that much money. It's going to be tens of cents, not dollars. So we removed all the Chinese on it, and as opposed to having a Chinese manual, he actually put the manual on his website and emailed out to his customers to check out that website and learn how to use the product. So in this way, we were able to completely remove the branding that he didn't want, the Chinese he didn't want, and obviously have a better experience, unboxing experience for his customers. Now, and then as we got started, we were working at some shipping options. So his previous supplier, now I don't want to name names because I don't want to speak ill of our competitors, but his previous supplier was a big platform. They have their own app, and they were actually claiming they were getting express shipping 5 to 8 days or so. However, when it really came down to it, Damon told us like, hey, it was not that good. It was like 7 to 15 days, sometimes more, because they were just taking a long time to process orders, even though he was paying technically for express shipping. He was paying $13.99 at the time. Now he started working with us. Now the first thing he wanted to do was actually reduce the cost. He really wanted to test this product, validate it some more. So he wanted a low cost option. So at the time, ePacket was actually working quite well. And we told him that, okay, well, you're getting 7 to 15 days for your past supplier. ePacket is probably going to be a little bit slow slower on average. However, it's going to be much cheaper for now. So we moved to e-packet first, and we're getting roughly between 7 to 20 days, with most of the orders arriving in 1 to 2 weeks or so. And he was able to get a lot of flexibility in terms of testing ads and making sure that his marketing was actually scalable. He saw some good results, so he really wanted to go for the Express line. So we moved him over to the Unexpress Express line. That was last year. That was still when it was very quick, so it was getting 5 to 8 days for him, sometimes a little bit faster as well. Now, it was definitely more expensive. However, it ended up being just $12.99. So it was still actually $1 cheaper than his past supplier, and we were getting much, much better speeds. And as we were fulfilling more and more orders of this product, we were looking for customer feedback. They loved the product. They loved the functionality. However, they were a little bit annoyed with the battery life. Sometimes there's charging issues, but they loved everything else about it. So we worked with our factory and we figured out that, hey, let's just actually swap out the battery for this. So it's something that's a little bit more reliable and something that has better battery life. And actually, because we were working with this factory for a while, the battery actually was very, very cheap for us, because all the factory did was actually just swapped out a different battery. So it was not actually meaningfully more expensive. It did actually add a slight amount of cost to us, but the factory actually took some of the cost because we had a long-term relationship with them. So therefore, we didn't actually pass on any of that cost to our client. Now, this is not always the case, by the way. Doing stuff like this, depending on the factory, depending on what you want to do, it might add some cost, but it's going to be tens of cents and most likely not going to be dollars. This is the way that we like to improve products. We got customer feedback and they love everything about the product, but the only problem was the battery. So, some of you guys out there might just be like, hey, I think this product is not that great. I just want a better version of it. I spend $2 more, however it might be. But honestly, you can't really say that. You need to get customer feedback, and they're going to tell you what they like or don't like about it. So as we collected that customer feedback, we were able to understand that the only thing we needed to change was the battery, and we did it not only for cheap, but we ended up actually doing it for free. Perfect example of doing what really matters, making the right decisions based on what your customers actually need, and doing it in a cost-effective way as possible. Because, with stuff like this, you can get a lot of value, much happier customers, without breaking the bank on just improving everything or going for a much better or a newer version product. And then at this point, with the better battery and with the faster shipping speeds and just an increasingly larger presence with his brand on his website and marketing, we decided to go for fully custom work. So obviously it's not an Apple product, just using these as examples, but we put a logo on the product, we made a fully custom hard box, and then we also customized manuals for him as well. He actually designed the manuals, but we helped facilitate all of this with the factory. Obviously, a big question is, how much does this all cost, right? So all of this actually added just about 35 cents per unit. And the only thing though is that, this is something to keep in mind for custom work, is that usually custom work has an MOQ. On average, you're going to look at 2,000 MOQ or so, but it highly depends on the product. And you're going to have a lead time as well. We're not going to be able to get inventory in 2 days if it's custom. You're going to have a 15-day lead time, which means that restocking and inventory management becomes very, very important. But look at the cost, right? It's only 35 cents extra per unit. So really, it's barely anything for a much better improvement. Now, I unfortunately can't show you guys the outcome, but it just looks beautiful. Everything just looks super professional, and it's something that you really would want to purchase for yourself or for your spouse or whatever it might be. I'll be totally honest with you, that 35 cents per unit, you're not going to get that kind of cost with a lot of other suppliers, because we got that cost because we had a great relationship with this factory. And now my understanding of how factories work is that if they're charging us 35 cents per unit for all of this work, they're not making any or much extra money on the actual customization work. Obviously, they still make margins on the product itself, but they were able to give us very favorable costs, even though they're not making more money on it, because again, we have a good relationship with them and they know that we're going to have more orders for them in the future. So this is where it's so important to build these relationships with these factories, or have your supplier do so at least, and the factories are going to give the supplier favorable costs. And in situations like this, there's no reason for us to make more money on this either, because we're still fulfilling these orders. So we pass on those cost savings to our client as well. Because of all these changes and the faster shipping and improved customer satisfaction, he was able to charge a much higher selling price. So he was actually able to charge $15 more at $44.99. He was still wildly profitable. Not only that, his COGS actually went down from before using his past high-priced iffy service supplier. His costs were actually now $13.34 compared to $13.99 before. This is all after express shipping and all the custom work. And then his average daily sales at that time was more than $3,000. And get this, his issue rate afterwards and now was just under 3%. That was down from 8% before, so down 5%. Now, to be frank, with any kind of product, especially for electronics products, you're gonna have some rate of issues. So with this, we might be seeing 1 to 2% of some issues that we had to replace, and then maybe 1% of some random shipping issues. But still, this is a lot lower than before. And the other thing that we do, and what a good supplier should do, is that even if there are issues, they should cover it. They should either compensate you for it, or they just resend the order. So even at 3%, you're still seeing a lot of satisfied customers because they get dealt with anyways in a positive way. And then his net margins after everything was 20%, so doubled of back when he was actually working with the past supplier. All right, so now let's take a timeline view of what actually happened and how each step actually drove results. We at EcommOps, we don't really just do things to try to make more money from our clients, but we really work with them and provide them with the right advice and help them the right decisions and what to do in order to actually grow and improve their business. So on a step-by-step basis, so first, before 2019, right here, that's before he started working with us, past supplier, lots of issues, and even higher prices. Now, the second point here, that's when we started working together. So we started working together. We used ePacket at first because it was cheaper. He wanted to kind of test out some things, but we removed the Chinese manual and started using custom boxes. And you see this little blip here, that's where he started scaling a little bit more, and that's where he decided, hey, marketing is great. Let's move to the express line and, just try to improve the product. So this is point 3, October 2019, that's when we moved to express shipping, and we also resolved the battery issues as well. And you can see this huge surge of, obviously this was Q4 as well. However, he had the confidence to really scale because all of these issues were resolved. And then finally, this right here, number 4, so this low was actually because of Chinese New Year where he paused, but that's when we finalized the full custom branding, and there was another scaling period here as well. Now, more recently, he scaled down a little bit more because he's kind of testing out more additional things, and we're also thinking about new product lines, but you see scaling up again, and I think that, this is just under 7 figures, but this is definitely going to be 7 figures and beyond very, very soon. Damon was very nice enough to give us a little quote to use, and he mentioned that faster shipping and the battery improvements gave him the confidence to scale up, mentioning this is another point of working with us. So, this is actually really important. And whether you work with us or you work with another agent, your supply chain is super important. Your product is super important. You can't see your supplier as just a transaction. If you really want to build a big brand in this business from generic products, first of all, it's not too difficult. As you see, I walked through all of it. That was really all that we did. And each step of the way, it was not that costly or even free. And it was not that complicated, but it just required doing the right things at the right time with the right amount of risk. So it's very important that if you really want to grow your business, if you want to get out the grind of constantly testing products and worrying about stuff that is too generic, it's really important to find an agent or a supplier that you really trust to work with them and have them build a relationship with your factory and have them give you good advice and help you grow this business step by step. He was able to build a very solid brand, and he has a great product now, great branded product, but he didn't have to take a ton of risks. He didn't have to put in tens of thousands of dollars at first to get to this point. Technically he did because he was marketing, but he was making money the entire time. So there was actually very, very little risk that he took up front. And we eventually, step by step, helped him grow to a business that, currently I like to think that he's proud of. And actually, as a next step, we are actually working on product line extension. So leveraging the current brand that he has and working on different products for different audiences, just improvements of the current product, more of a V2 generation type product. So these are all things that we're working on, and really definitely looking forward to continue to scale this. And so I actually just want to leave this with a brief summary of Damon's bio. I'm not going to read through all of it. I'll put this down in the description as well, so you can read all of it. But he's an awesome guy. He's only 22, and he's a perfect example of starting from scratch and just learning as he goes, and having the passion and the hard work to build a great brand. And obviously we were supporting him, but all the credit really goes out to him. And he's a perfect example of kind of the counter of people saying that dropshipping is dead because they get into the game and stuff doesn't work right away and they just think it's too hard and they just move on. Damon works hard. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, this all seems relatively simple, and that's why the credit is to him. But all of the back end stuff, supply chain stuff, is relatively simple for us, and we can help him do it. But he put the work in. He was grinding. He was trying really hard to get the marketing and the branding down, and he achieved success. So a great example of showing that, hey, dropshipping is definitely not dead if you do the right things, and we see it over and over again with different clients. But anyways, I'll leave his information down below. I'll leave his Instagram tag as well if you guys want to reach out to him and ask questions. He'd be happy to do so. Alright guys, so hope you guys enjoyed that short case study. If you liked it, please like this video, please subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, you can see future videos as well. And we are a premium fulfillment agency, so check us out at EcommOps.com. I'll link to it below if you want to talk to us, if you want to maybe eventually go along the same path as Damon did, but obviously with a different product. And please join our Facebook group as well, EcommOps group. That's where we put a lot of information and discussions on operations and logistics, all completely for free. All right, guys. Well, until next time, this is Dayu from EcommOps. See you guys later.